So this is RWBY Grimm Eclipse any percent. I'm going to be doing Blake solo. Unfortunately there is a little bit of a thunderstorm outside, so I hope that doesn't affect the recording too much. Another thing I'd like to note just before we start is that for some reason the source I used to download the VODs for my runs added some frames, so the VODs are going to be a little slower at playing back for some reason. So to start off this run, we do a skip that you just saw. We use the mechanics that Blake has to do an aerial heavy attack, which when holding down the counter button allows us to dip towards the ground a bit and reset our run. So reset our jump. So we're able to get a distance or a height that we normally wouldn't be able to get, and we're able to go over a lot of the different invisible barriers in the game. So using that, we're able to do a low bounce, 4 direct attacks, which give us a little bit of height, and then a final very high bounce at the end of it, which gives us the height we need for most of our skips. So we're able to skip from the beginning of level 1 to the end of level 1, where we're given this horde mode. So there's going to be 4 different waves here. The first one is going to be 9 separate of these very smaller Grimm. The second wave is going to be 4 Beowulfs, and then another, I believe, 5 smaller Grimm. So the fastest technique for killing the smaller Grimm is typically to do a jump in the air and then a small direct attack followed by a heavy attack. For the Beowulf, typically the fastest way to kill them is by tapping them all once with a heavy, and then following it up with an ultimate. You can usually get multiple groups like that. Failing that, you can also do 2 direct attacks followed by a heavy attack twice, which will be enough to kill them. So unfortunately I missed this Grimm here in my ultimate, otherwise I would have killed him slightly sooner. So right here I'm hitting all 4 of them with my ultimate. And just trying to build up my meter a little bit so that I have enough to the ultimate. The final unit of wave 4 is a larger than normal of the smaller Grimm. So I'm trying to charge up a heavy attack just to do a little bit of damage, and then do 2 shorter direct heavies. During this final stage here, there's going to be 3 waves of 4 Beowulfs. I'm going to kill the first wave with 2 directs and some heavies. That way I can build up my charge for the second one. I actually choose to do a team attack there, which is the RWBY prompt that was showing on screen. So on the final wave, I'm going to kill as much of them as I can, and then when I finally get my ultimate, I'm going to use it on whatever is left to quickly dispatch them before the mutated Beowulf, or not the mutated Beowulf, the giant Beowulf shows up. So unfortunately he's actually on the rocks there, so it kind of messes up my counter here to stun him. So I have to back off a little bit before I can deal the final damage. So right here what I'm doing is I'm doing what's called a checkpoint skip. So because I didn't trigger the checkpoint at the beginning, or I guess at the middle of the level on my way in, once I finish the level I can proceed to where the checkpoint would have been triggered as the level ends, and as a result it's going to put me at the last checkpoint of the second mission, which means I could skip a wave, or a horde wave right behind us, and I'm right at the end here. So I got right side. There's 2 different paths you can get. Right side's faster, so we just do a little skip over this area, and then we're heading over to the final horde mode of wave 2. It's going to introduce some more enemies, more different types. Primarily it's going to introduce the Grimm that dash towards you. I don't actually know their name currently. Right now I'm just waiting for the dialogue to end, so I'm just trying to get on top of that pillar there. But now I'm waiting for the Grimm to spawn. I missed the charge attack unfortunately, but it doesn't waste really any time. And I'm just trying to clean up the first wave here. So this wave typically spawns very oddly depending on where you are. So the first spawn is 4 Beowulf, and then the next one is 5. The second wave is going to be some, or not Beowulf, sorry, some Grimm. The next one's going to be some small Grimm, and then 4 Beowulf. Even though I left that one there, I'm just trying to clear up as many as I can before they dig underground and go towards the point, because if they try to go away to me and attack the point like they're trying to do, then I'm going to lose a little bit of time. So I'm just trying to get all of the Beowulf there in that ultimate so I can get them killed. So this one here, I'm going to try, there's going to be 4 Beowulf, and to evolve the Grimm, I'm trying to get all of them into the same ultimate so I can kill them all very quickly. It takes a little long for that one to show up, but eventually he gets in and I'm able to kill them all pretty quickly. The fastest way for the mutated Grimm being a ultimate and then a direct heavy attack. So for these ones here, you want to do some charged up heavies, and then as soon as the bee comes up to counter, you want to do that so they get stunned and they take more damage. This is going to cause the final wave to start. Well, I guess those were the final wave, but some of the smaller Grimm are going to spawn, and then once you get the small-ish wave of those to show up, you're going to get one giant Grimm and then a couple more smaller ones. At this point, I do have a little bit of an ultimate bar, so I'm going to use that to quickly get rid of the ones that are left. And then that's the end of this level. No cutscene skipping this one, we're going to go right into Chapter 3 here. So Chapter 3, we're also going to do a pretty major skip. The basic premise of this game is that you're investigating some odd activities, and from there you discover a plot from a company that's long since been thought gone. So we're going to do another skip here. So again, using the same technique as before, we're going to get over the invisible barrier right here. I actually missed it the first time, but on the second... Oh, I missed it the third time as well. Second time, rather. On the third time, I get over it. So we're just going to jump around the outside of the level here, skipping over a lot of these walls here. Most of this is actually loaded, even though there's no reason for you to ever be out here. But we're going to jump around the edge here towards where we're going to do the next set of skips here. There is another skip that you can do in this level. There's actually a lot of different skips throughout all of these levels. The skips I'm doing in my runs are the safer strats. So they are slightly slower than the fast strats, but they are more safe, so more runs will get completed using these strats. And here we're just going to clip back into bounds so that we can finish the final fight here. So this is actually a shorter wave than the last ones. So the first wave is going to have 6 regular Grimm, I believe, and 2 Beowulfs. Once we kill all of them, which we're not going to use an ultimate, by the way, we're going to save that for the final Ursa. But we're going to kill the 2 Beowulf and the, I believe it's 5 Grimm. And then 5 more Beowulf are going to spawn. We're going to kill those 5 Beowulf with an ultimate. And then a small Ursa is going to spawn and a large Ursa. So the Ursas actually have a fair amount of RNG in them. So they have... I actually missed this Beowulf in my ultimate. So the Beowulfs have a fair amount of RNG. We need them to do the Grand Smash move like they just did in order to actually deal a lot of damage to them. If they don't do that, then they'll do a swipe move, which wastes about 4 seconds every time they do the swipe. So fortunately, I got pretty good RNG at the start here. So on the smaller Ursas, the fastest way to kill them is just by heavy attacking them with charged up heavies. On the larger Ursas, the fastest way is to use an ultimate, followed by 3 direct heavies. Or light heavies. And then when we're waiting for them to use their abilities, we just use similar to the ability we used to get out of bounds, we just use a repeated low heavy attack so that we continuously reset the ability to use it in air. So right off the beginning of Chapter 4 here, we're going to do another skip, which is going to take us pretty much to the end of the level. This is actually a kind of a short level in terms of encounters, so there's actually not too much to skip here. Unfortunately, we do have a long part at the end that we still have to do. There's no way around skipping it, but we're going to jump out of bounds and clip into the final area here before the cart. So I actually got a very good spawn here. The best spawn for this area is 2 waves of Beowulf, followed by an evolved Beowulf. There is another wave that could happen, which wastes a lot of time because of the enemies that spawn. So fortunately, we got the very good one here. Right after this, we're going to head over to the cart, which is now open. This triggers the ability to open this button. On the other side is a cart strapped with explosives. So we now need to basically fuel the cart so that the bomb will fall into a chasm and will not hurt anybody, even though we are in an abandoned area. So I'm basically just waiting for the dialogue here to finish. Joel's talking about some stuff. Eventually the dialogue is going to, the dust crystal is going to spawn, and we need to get it into the cart as quickly as possible. There's going to be a second spawn in the exact same place, and as soon as we get that in to the cart, we're going to wait at the door so that we can go to where the dust crystals are spawning. There's going to be 3 spawns here. I believe the first one is far. The best spawn possible would be close, middle, far, but doesn't waste too much time as long as you do it quickly. So there are a bunch of Grimm spawning here. It does make it a little difficult to do the fastest movement because there's going to be a lot of counter props, and the fastest movement involves pressing cancel to counter to cancel out of your attack animation to be able to reset it quicker. So I have to do a lot of just regular dashing here, depending on where the Grimm are. So right there, I would hang up a little bit just so I could let all the Grimm come to me and then have to walk a very long way to get to me when I dropped down. Right here, I'm trying to do a double bounce to get up a little quicker. So now we're in the second area. Now there are 4 different locations for them to spawn, and there's 2 dust that can appear here, and there's actually a 5th location on the other side of this door where the 3rd and final one for this area can spawn. The 3 best spawns for this would be the 2 on the right side and the one at the very end. I'm basically just waiting around for the dust crystals to spawn now. The dust crystals wait a certain amount of time before they spawn, so the only thing you can do is just kind of wait around. If the cart runs out of fuel, it will start to very slowly move backwards, kind of similar to how the payload moves in Overwatch if you're not pushing it for a long time. So once we get the final dust crystal in here, we're actually going to be watching a small cutscene where the cart falls in, and then we're going to exit the level. So we do get a small little cutscene here where it falls into the abyss and then explodes. As soon as that happens, we're going to back out and go to the next level. So the reason why in some levels we wait till the end and in some we don't is primarily for the cutscene skip, but also the times we're leaving in the levels we don't happen to be the exact time when the next level is unlocked. So, for example, as soon as that cart blows up and the cutscene is over, even though Joel has a lot to say, you can back out and the next level would be unlocked if you were doing your first playthrough. Obviously, they're all unlocked since I've completed the game already. So now we're right on track. So there is 2 different ways to go. You saw there was the left door and the right door. The right door takes a little bit longer, but it does save time overall. Or sorry, it is more consistent rather. The left side is a much harder skip, whereas right side is much easier. So overall, you do lose a little bit of time going right side, but it's very consistent, and you don't have to worry about enemies. On the left side, you can get the enemy spawns in bad places, and it causes you to be unable to do the skip properly. So right here, I accidentally hit a direct attack too early, and so I fell out of the tree. Right now, I'm just trying to get on the corner here, and from here I'm going to do the skip to get over. Next, we're going to be doing kind of a series of jumps over here. So we're going to get up on the ledge on the left here using a low jump and then a high jump. So a low heavy and a high heavy. Then we're going to do another low heavy and another high heavy after we jump over to this rock here, which is going to get us over this invisible wall. From over here, we're going to jump to this platform over here, and we're going to do another low 4 directs and a high to get us over to this platform here. And this is going to bring us basically to the end wave. All the levels end in a horde. So we're going to trigger this one here. This wave is a little different than all the others in the sense that we're actually going to take an intentional death on the last round. We'll get that in a little bit though. So same as before, just trying to round up all the Beowulf and use my ultimate on them to kill them all very quickly. These guys can get stuck on this level, and it's kind of weird because they just kind of glitch out in the corners and walk into nothing. This one kind of evaded my ultimate, unfortunately. It doesn't waste too much time. So I got the band spot here, and I got the Ursa. Unfortunately, he's going to claw a couple times. As long as I don't take too many claws, I don't risk dying. And then finally he goes ahead and he does it. I actually choose to do that instead. I was hoping I would deal a little more damage to the Grimm beside him, but it actually just knocked him away, and I wasted a little bit of time. So again, like always, just trying to round them up and finish the wave really quickly. I only am going to 4 waves in terms of my ultimate management, because on the 5th wave, any ultimate I have still is a waste. So I'm looking to use pretty much my ultimate as soon as I can, even if it's not necessarily an enemy I normally would use it on. There's going to be another Ursa spawn right beside this after this one. Fortunately, Ursas, even though they do take a little while based on RNG, they really help your ultimate bar, just based on how much you're bouncing on them. So I have 2 ultimate bars, and I'm just waiting to round everybody up. So this is going to be a 4 Beowulf and then a 5 Grimm spawn, because of the enemy spawns there are. Sometimes it also could be a Ursa and 4 Beowulfs, but it's almost always going to be a bunch of these. So you notice there's only 2 of them, and I just used my ultimate because I needed them to die. So here I am spamming counter when the counter prompt isn't up. That's causing the Beowulf to attack me. Basically what that does is I need to die here in order for the next cutscene skip to work. So the sooner I get hit by him, the sooner I can respawn, of course, and then continue with the stage. So these guys are new. The fastest way to kill them is by stunning them. If you don't stun them with the B prompt, you can jump in the air and then shoot them to stun them. And then from there, you want to just do heavy attacks and then ultimates as well. So next, we're going to go trigger the next checkpoint skip, which is going to bring us to the end of the level. And basically, as long as we die and then come over to this area, we will spawn at the end of the next level, which is important because we're going to save a lot of time doing that. Now, the next level likes to spawn a lot of mutated Grimm and mutated Biowolves, which can lose a little bit of time, depending on what kind of wave you get. First, we gotta kill these two ones. It doesn't even matter if we take damage here because we'll be fully shielded up by the time the wave starts. So I do get a pretty easy first wave. It's going to be 4 Grimm and then 2 mutated Grimm. The 2 mutated Grimm are really simple. You can either do 3 shots or really any attack, or standing on them. They'll suicide to kill you if you stand on top of them, because they are made to blow up. I also get another pretty easy wave here with 4 Beowulf and 2 mutated. This is actually a pretty decent luck for this wave. Pretty much 4 Beowulfs or Small Grimm are very, very good spawns at any point in the run. So we got a very, very good wave up to this point. And then we're going to get a little unfortunate wave, which is 2 of the mutated Grimm and then 2 mutated Biowolves. So there I missed my direction on my heavy. And I messed this one up just a little bit too much. But eventually I get the hang of it and remember how to play the game. These mutated Biowolves are pretty simple. This one does take a little while to spawn sometimes, which is a little unfortunate. I'm also going to be, as soon as this Grimm is done, I'm going to be exiting the level. There's no checkpoint skip on this level, so it's just easier to kill him and then leave. So this next one here, there is a small skip at the very beginning. Basically, you can't have a chance to skip the cutscene. The cutscene is a very short time loss, so it's not super important. The jump itself is pretty difficult. So I do actually take too long to get to where I need to go, so I don't get the cutscene skip. And then I also miss the jump itself. Once you try once or twice and miss, it's just easier to kill these guys off. They both die to 2 ultimates, so you can get them both in the same 2 ults and then just move on to your way. It makes the first wave of the horde a little bit more difficult, but it's not terrible. So from here we're going to jump onto the crate using the same technique we always use, and then we're going to jump over here on the dome. And we're going to jump over these cliffs here and into the out-of-bounds area where things are kind of partially loaded. And we're going to jump all the way to the end of the level, actually on the other side of where you normally would be to end the level. And then we're going to clip out from the physical exit into the level and then exit through the entrance, if that makes sense. So this is actually on the other side of the end of the level. We're going to jump back inbounds and we're going to trigger the end horde. And then this is not actually a skip or anything quite yet. This is just doing some jumps that we're going to be doing later. Just doing some bounces. We'll be doing that after the horde's done, but we don't really need to do any of it now. Now we're just doing some skips while we're waiting for Merlot to stop talking. So these waves can be a little time-consuming depending on which ones you get. These guys don't waste too much time, but typically any waves that you get them in do have unfortunate spawns. Fortunately here I get mostly Small Grimm after them, and I believe 4 Beowulf as well. Looks like, no, it's just, yeah, a bunch of Smaller Grimm, which is also a really good spawn. We do get one of the bigger ones, but it doesn't waste too much time. The fact that he went underground does hurt a little bit, but he is going to do that another time again. So it turns out that Ozpin and Merlot have known each other for a while. even though there's been no mention of him up to this point. So since I don't have an ultimate ability, I'm just going to be killing these Beowulf here. I do pick it up right here, but there's a lot more fight left to do, so it's not worth using currently. Again, it's also not worth using on these two, because there's not many enemies left. And it's easier to just farm ultimate off these two. This level has a little bit of talking in it, unfortunately. Eclipse and Merlot like to go on a little bit more than they should. So, same as always, we're just going to round up all the Beowulf. Since there's actually two upgraded Grimm here, we're going to try and get all of them into a ultimate. We actually missed the second one, but it doesn't waste too much time here. So Merlot and Ozparin are basically fighting like they're just fighting. We get another spawn here that's kind of mediocre. These guys take a little bit of time, but it could be worse. We do get a pretty good Grimm spawn here, and then as long as Ursas don't show up, the wave is actually pretty good. There's actually 5 left, so that wave almost never will have Ursas. Fortunately enough, we did get this wave twice in a row. This is actually a pretty good wave. And I actually totally missed that this was the final wave. I was concentrating on something else, so that's why I didn't use my 2 final specials. And so here we're just going back into the level. So this is actually where we would have come from originally. So we're going to skip over there, and then we're going to wait right here for them to be done talking. Once they're done talking, the trigger to open up the area behind us will open, and then we're going to walk forwards to in the direction we were just facing, which is going to trigger the cutscene skip to, the checkpoint skip to bring us to the end of the next level right before that wave as well. So we're going to be skipping to the next horde. So the next horde is actually a pretty difficult one. It can spawn a lot of the red soldiers, which are actually pretty difficult to deal with, because they will hit you even though... so for most enemies, once you hit them, they kind of lay off on their attack, but the red ones will continue to attack you even through it. So this spawn here is 4 Beowulf and then 3 of the red soldiers, which is a little unfortunate. It does make it very risky. I drop the ultimate as soon as the second one comes towards me, in hopes to try and kill it before the third one shows up. And then I use my stun shot to kill it. Or stun shot to stun it so that I can kill it easier. Since this one only spawns 2 of them, I just gang up on the first one. Or not gang up on it, but focus on the first one as soon as he spawns before the second one does. Before using my stun shot on the second one. The next wave is going to be 4 Beowulf and then 2 of the red guys again. So it's going to be the same strat as before. Oh, I lied. It's actually going to be 2 of the mutated Grimm. Now the final wave is almost always going to be 2 of the white soldiers, which have machine guns. So you want to try and kill off the Beowulf first, then the chain gun soldiers, and then the Ursa last. Because these have ranged weapons which will knock you out of your charged attacks when you're killing the Ursa, and make it very hard for you to actually kill the Ursa. So as soon as I get the team attack option there, I use it because I want to make sure he dies here. And then after that, I just do the bounce until he ground pounds me. From here, we're going to be doing, again, another checkpoint skip. So since we didn't trigger anything in this level, we're actually able to go to this checkpoint right here and wait till the end of this level, which is going to bring us very close to the end of the next level. So the next level here has a skip that's pretty hard to do depending on the spawns of the Grimm. Fortunately, depending on the spawn, it doesn't waste too much time. I try for it here, and I actually get it. Or I almost get it. So I had it, but for some reason it glitched me out and threw me back into this room. So instead of trying again, since I had a very good spawn in terms of something to kill easy, I just go ahead and use both my ultimates. So from here we're going to start the last horde. This last horde is a little different than all the others because it doesn't actually tell you what wave or how many units are spawning. It'll just start spawning. The green bar progresses for each wave you clear. This usually has a lot of the red soldiers, a lot of the chain gun soldiers, and a lot of Teddy Ursa or mutated Biowolf, all of which are pretty hard enemies to kill. The red soldiers and the chain gun soldiers are probably the worst because they do ignore the fact that they're being hit and just attack you anyway. Fortunately here I was able to pretty much kill them before they were able to do a lot of damage to me. I see two of them here, so I immediately drop an ultimate, that way they die very quickly. I'm nearing the end of the hordes, so I'm not too worried about not having ultimate. I'm more worried about just killing them as quickly as possible before they kill me. Now that the Ursa stood up, I'm pretty certain that the next one's going to be a mutated Biowolf, so I'm just trying to kill the Ursa as quickly as possible, hoping that he stops clawing and instead tries to ground pound. There's really nothing I can do. Fortunately, bouncing like this does a pretty good amount of damage. And then here, I'm just trying to keep him stun locked so I can kill him. This is the final unit of the wave. There is no checkpoint skip for this level, and if there was, it's actually not something we'd want to do anyway, because that would ruin the final level skip. So the final level skip's actually pretty big. In most of the levels, you're kind of above ground, so you just kind of clip over something and then you're kind of out of bounds. This level, we're actually inside a laboratory. Much like the last two. But we didn't do any out-of-bounds skips in the last two. So here we're going to get on top of the pipes here, which we're not supposed to be able to do. And from there we can get on top of the level. I actually miss it here. My dash was a little too short, so we're going to try it again. So we can get on top of the level here. Now this is important because we can go all the way to the end of the game. We do have to do some precise jumps here in order to get to the end of the game. But we are able to get to the end of the game. I'm being very careful here because if I fall off to the left, it's death, and I have to restart the entire level. But we can jump all the way to the end of the level, do some nice little jumping over some invisible walls, and we skip the final boss, which is a very, very long fight, and we skip all the hordes and all the enemies in the game. So we're actually at the end of the game right here. I missed the jump up here. I missed it twice. But we get up here, and now we're triggering the shuttle to show up. So that's really the end of the game there. I'm going to try to get in over here for slag. I'm just going to try and get into the final area. I trigger the final area and actually walk into the... this is the boss area where the boss would spawn. But that was Grimm Eclipse.